What if, at this very moment, a wanderer from beyond the stars was gliding silently through our skies? Not a comet from the familiar reaches of our solar system, not an asteroid ejected from some forgotten collision, but something far older, far stranger. A visitor from another sun entirely. Imagine such an object, racing at more than 130,000 miles an hour, carrying within it the fingerprints of a world we will never see. A message written in the chemistry of light and the silence of space. This is the story of 3I Atlas, the third confirmed interstellar traveler ever detected by human eyes. Its arrival was quiet, a faint shimmer on a screen, almost overlooked. And yet, from the moment it was recognized, it began to unravel assumptions, to whisper questions, to remind us that the universe is not finished surprising us. Picture the night sky as a great ocean, stretching from horizon to horizon, dark and endless. Beneath it you lie, breathing slowly, your body heavy with rest, your mind open to wonder. Above, stars burn like distant campfires, each one older than memory, each one carrying secrets of its own. For most of history, we have watched those lights with longing, imagining stories, weaving myths. Tonight, one of those stories becomes real, as we turn our gaze toward a single traveler that does not belong here, a messenger from the deep. High in the Andes, where the air is thin and still, telescopes sweep the heavens each night. They move like slow, patient sentinels, their mirrors collecting photons that began their journey long before our species walked the earth. Most nights, the patterns are familiar. Stars fixed, planets steady, comets predictable. But then, on a quiet evening in July of 2025, something unusual appeared. A faint point of light, moving just slightly off script, tracing a path that no ordinary comet could follow. At first it was only a suspicion, a handful of pixels, a curve that did not match. But with each passing night, the truth grew clearer. This was no child of our sun. Its orbit was hyperbolic, its speed too great to be bound. It had entered our system from elsewhere, and soon enough it would leave again. For now, though, it was here, visible for only a short season, offering us a rare chance to witness a fragment of the galaxy itself. Take a moment to let that thought settle. Somewhere above you, hidden among the stars, is an object that has traveled for millions of years through the interstellar dark. It has passed suns that have long since died, clouds of dust older than Earth, regions where the temperature lingers near absolute zero. And now, for this fleeting moment, it drifts close enough for us to notice. How does that make you feel? Small, perhaps, or perhaps connected, part of a universe that is alive with motion. 3I Atlas is more than a comet. It is a question. Why does it carry the chemistry it does? Why does it move along such an improbable path? Why does it reveal some secrets and conceal others? Tonight, as we explore its mysteries together, we will not rush to answers. We will wander slowly, gently, letting each detail unfold like the pages of a quiet book. For this is not a tale of conclusions, but of wonder. And so, I invite you to settle deeper into your pillow, to let your breath slow, to let your thoughts soften. As you drift, imagine the traveler above, gliding silently through our skies, carrying secrets from another star. Tonight, we will follow it together. What if the quiet sky above you was not as still as it seems? What if, moving silently among the familiar stars, there drifted a stranger, an object from another sun, a traveler older than memory itself? Imagine such a visitor, racing unseen across the void, its journey stretching back millions of years, its destination unknown, its presence here nothing more than a brief pause in an endless voyage. This is the story of 3I Atlas, the third confirmed interstellar object ever discovered by humanity. It carries a name that feels heavy with myth, as though chosen not just for cataloging but for storytelling. Atlas, the one who bore the heavens on his shoulders, now lends his name to a fragment of the galaxy that has come to rest, however briefly, within our sight. Close your eyes for a moment and picture the night sky. The air is cool, the earth beneath you solid and steady, the stars above scattered like grains of salt on black velvet. Each one burns with a light that began its journey before you were born, before your ancestors walked the earth, before even the oceans knew the rhythm of tides shaped by the moon. Somewhere among those lights drifts our visitor, a point so faint that only the most sensitive instruments can see it, yet real, undeniable, a guest from far beyond. The discovery began quietly, high in the mountains of Chile. There, where the air is thin and the nights are long, telescopes keep their patient watch. Their domes open each evening like flowers turning toward the sun, but instead they gaze into darkness, gathering light that has traveled across unimaginable distances. On the night of July the 1st, 2025, one of those telescopes noticed something unusual. Just a pixel, a shimmer, a faint dot that seemed to move differently than it should. At first, it could have been dismissed. The sky is filled with noise, with chance alignments, with shadows that trick the eye. But the algorithms noticed. They compared, calculated, whispered. This one does not belong. Its path was not elliptical, not bound, but hyperbolic. A curve that comes from afar and returns to afar, a signature of interstellar origin. Imagine the feeling of that moment when the realization dawned. To look at a tiny flicker of light and understand that it is not ours, that it comes from another system, another star, another history altogether. It is like finding a seashell on a mountain top, a reminder that oceans once lay where stone now rises, a whisper from the past carried into the present. And so the news spread quietly at first, then more widely. A third interstellar visitor. The first had been Oumuamua, the second Borisov, and now Atlas. 3 voices in a chorus, 3 messengers from the deep, each one carrying a different story. Atlas, from its first moments, hinted at contradictions, at secrets it would not easily give away. Take a breath here, slow and deep. As you exhale, imagine yourself lying beneath that sky, the stars above endless, the earth below steady, your body sinking into stillness. Somewhere up there, the traveler moves, silent, indifferent, yet connected to you in this moment by the simple fact of being noticed. For countless centuries, it would have passed unseen. Tonight, you know it is there. How does that make you feel? Small, perhaps, but also part of something greater. Alone, perhaps, but also connected. The universe is vast, but it is not empty. It sends us visitors, reminders that we are not the only story written in the stars. 3i Atlas invites us to wonder. What is it made of? Why does it shine as it does? What secrets lie hidden beneath its veil? Tonight, as we wander together through its mysteries, we will not demand answers. We will let the questions themselves be enough. For in the quiet of night, under the endless sky, sometimes it is not certainty that soothes us, but wonder. Welcome, dear listener, to this quiet journey through the cosmos. This is Science for Sleep, a space where the mysteries of the universe soften into gentle stories, guiding your thoughts toward calm and rest. Here, science is not a race, not a contest of answers, but a meditation, a lullaby written in the language of stars and silence. If these explorations bring you comfort, if the sound of slow discovery helps your mind grow still, I invite you gently to stay with us. A simple like a quiet subscription, a small gesture of support. All of these help keep this circle of dreamers alive. Yet feel no urgency, no pressure. This is a place of choice, a place of rest. You are welcome simply to listen, to let the words drift past like clouds in the evening sky. I would love to know where you are listening from tonight. Perhaps you are in a city, where the hum of traffic is softened by the night, and the stars are faint but still present above the glow of lights. Perhaps you are in the countryside, where the sky stretches wide and the Milky Way appears like a river of dust across the heavens. Perhaps you are near the sea, where the sound of waves keeps rhythm with your breathing. Or perhaps you are in the mountains, where the air is thin and cool, and the stars feel close enough to touch. Wherever you are part of this moment. You and many others scattered across the globe are listening together beneath the same sky. A sky that has watched over humanity for countless generations. A sky filled with questions that have yet to be answered. And tonight, you add your own presence to that long history of wonder. What time is it in your part of the world? Is it the quiet hours before sleep, when the day has ended and your thoughts are ready to rest? Or is it deep into the night, when the world outside is hushed and only you remain awake, keeping company with the stars? Perhaps it is early morning, the edge of dawn, when the first light of day has not yet broken, and the sky still belongs to night. If you feel like sharing, tell me not only where you are and what time it is, but also your dreams. Have you ever dreamed of discovering something extraordinary? A hidden world, a strange message, a moment of wonder that changed everything you thought you knew? These dreams, like the mysteries we explore here, remind us that the unknown is not to be feared, but embraced gently with curiosity. And so, before we continue deeper into the tale of Three-Eye Atlas, I want to thank you. Thank you for being here, for allowing me into your night, for joining this circle of quiet explorers. As we move forward, let the story unfold slowly, like moonlight rising over calm water. Let it ease your thoughts, soften your breathing, and carry you closer to rest. Welcome again, dear traveler of the night. This is Science for Sleep, and here we do not rush. We do not demand quick answers. Instead, we let curiosity flow like a river, winding gently through landscapes of thought, carrying us slowly toward the quiet shores of rest. In this space, the universe is not a problem to be solved, but a story to be listened to. The stars are not distant and cold, but soft companions, their light arriving like gentle whispers from across the ages. My role is not to overwhelm you with facts, but to offer them like stepping stones across a calm stream, each one steady, each one guiding you deeper into peace. If you find solace here, if the rhythm of these words helps your mind grow calm, I invite you, softly, to join this circle more fully. A kind like a quiet subscription, a few words in the comments. These are small gestures, but together they weave a community. And yet, remember, there is no obligation. This is not a place of urgency. It is a place of rest. You are welcome here whether you choose to engage or simply listen in silence, letting the story wash over you like rainfall in the night. I wonder, where are you listening from this evening? Perhaps you are lying in your own bed, safe and warm, the hum of the world fading as you close your eyes. Perhaps you are traveling, listening through headphones as a train carries you across darkened landscapes, the rhythm of the wheels a lullaby in itself. Perhaps you are on a night shift break, finding a quiet corner to rest your thoughts. Wherever you are, this moment belongs to you, and you are part of something larger, scattered listeners across the globe, connected by curiosity beneath the same sky. Think for a moment of those others. Someone in Tokyo, listening while neon lights still glow outside their window. Someone in London, drifting to sleep as rain taps softly on the glass. Someone in a small village, far from cities, where crickets sing and the stars blaze with clarity. Imagine them all, scattered like constellations across Earth, each one listening, each one dreaming. And now, imagine yourself among them, another light in that constellation. Together, we form a quiet galaxy of listeners, orbiting not around a star, but around wonder. What time is it for you? Is it late evening, when the last tasks of the day are finished, and the night stretches ahead, inviting you to rest? Or perhaps it is midnight, when silence deepens and the world outside has grown still, leaving only you, your breath, and the distant stars. Maybe it is near dawn, when the first hints of light gather at the horizon, but the sky still belongs to night. Time matters little here. What matters is that this is your moment, your pause, your invitation to drift. Have you ever dreamed of discovery? A dream where you found something no one had ever seen before. An island hidden on a map, a book filled with unknown words, a signal from the stars? Such dreams are not just for sleep. They are part of who we are as humans. We have always dreamed of more, always reached outward. To listen to a story like that of Three-Eye Atlas is to step into those dreams, to imagine not just what is, but what might be. And so, I ask you gently, will you walk with me a little further into this mystery? Will you let your mind wander with mine? Not hurried, not fearful, but curious and calm? Together, we will follow the path of this interstellar traveler. We will see how it was found, what makes it strange, what stories it might be telling us. We may not find answers, but perhaps we will find something better. A sense of wonder, a sense of peace, a sense that even in the vast silence of the cosmos, we are not alone. Before we continue, I want to thank you once more. Thank you for giving me your time, for allowing my voice into your night, for choosing to be here. As the story unfolds, let the words be like the rhythm of waves on a shore. Steady, soothing, unhurried. Let them guide you, gently, into the calm that waits just beyond waking. Now, let us return to our traveler, to the moment of its discovery, to the first time human eyes recognized that a stranger from another star had come to visit. Here, in this circle of gentle exploration, we remind ourselves that the universe is not something distant and cold, but something intimate, something we share together. When you listen, you are not alone. You are accompanied by thousands of others, scattered like starlight across the globe, each of them listening in the stillness of their own night. Think of it for a moment. Somewhere far from you, another person presses play, hearing these same words. Perhaps they are in a quiet apartment, the window cracked open to the sound of rain. Perhaps they are in a countryside home, where the night is deep and filled with the songs of insects. Perhaps they are lying awake, unable to sleep, until the story of the cosmos begins to lull them. Each listener is separate, but together you form a constellation, connected not by lines of stars but by shared wonder. This is what Science for Sleep is meant to be, not a lecture, not a performance, but a gathering. A place where knowledge meets calm, where curiosity meets comfort. We walk slowly here, never in haste, always pausing to breathe, to reflect, to wonder. If you would like, you may share a little piece of yourself with this constellation. Tell us where you are, what hour of the night holds you, what dream lingers in your mind. Tell us not because it is required, but because it connects us, thread by thread, into a quiet web of listeners spread beneath the same sky. Do you remember your childhood dreams? The first time you looked at the stars and felt their pull? The first time you wondered what lay beyond the horizon? Those dreams are still with you, woven into the fabric of who you are. And when you listen to a story like this, they awaken again, gentle reminders that curiosity is not a burden but a gift. If these journeys bring you peace, I invite you softly to stay with us. A like, a subscription, a simple comment, small gestures that keep this circle alive, that let us continue weaving these stories. But if all you do is listen, that too is enough. Listening is an act in itself, a way of being present, a way of sharing the night. So let us breathe together now, slowly, deeply. Let us imagine the stars above, vast and uncountable, and among them, the faint shimmer of Three-Eye Atlas, moving silently through the dark. Soon we will follow its path in detail. We will watch its discovery unfold. But for now, rest in the knowledge that you are part of something larger, something shared, something beautiful. The story of Three-Eye Atlas begins not with drama, but with patience. High in the mountains of Chile, where the Andes rise against the sky, the nights are long, the air thin, and the stars uncommonly clear. Here, observatories stand like silent sentinels, their domes opening each evening with mechanical grace, turning their mirrors toward the heavens. These telescopes are the eyes of Earth, scanning the darkness, searching not for spectacle, but for subtle change. Most nights are routine. Stars shine in their appointed places, Asteroids trace predictable arcs. Comets flare as they approach the warmth of the sun. The data streams steadily. Pixels, numbers, graphs. So familiar that astronomers read them as easily as words. But on the first night of July in the year 2025, the routine shifted. At 11:37 in the evening, Universal Time, one of the instruments flagged something unusual. A faint point of light, almost invisible, glimmered against the background of stars. At first it seemed ordinary, a speck like countless others. Yet when the algorithms tracked its motion, a quiet alarm stirred. The curve it traced was not elliptical, not the closed loop of an orbit but hyperbolic, a line that declared exile, a path from elsewhere. Imagine the moment inside the control room. Banks of monitors glowing in the dark. The soft hum of machines. A researcher, weary from long hours, leans closer to the screen. The numbers do not align. The path does not fit. Slowly, carefully, the realization takes hold. This is not a comet born of our sun, not an asteroid wandering our system. It is something else, something older, something from the deep between stars. In those first hours, the discovery was fragile, almost unbelievable. Could it be error? Noise in the data? A miscalculation? But as confirmations came, first from Chile, then from Hawaii, then from telescopes in Spain and Arizona, the truth solidified. The faint light was real. The path was hyperbolic. The speed too great to be bound. A visitor had arrived, unseen until now, but undeniable once found. They named it 3I, for Third Interstellar. The number acknowledged its place in a growing lineage. First Oumuamua, then Borisov, now Atlas. The second part of its name honored the survey that found it. The Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, shortened to Atlas. A program built to guard Earth from local threats had instead revealed a messenger from afar. Think of the improbability of this. The sky is vast beyond measure. Millions upon millions of stars scatter their light across the dark. The number of comets and asteroids in our own system is immense. To notice, within all that immensity, a single traveler from another star is like noticing a ripple in the ocean while standing on the shore. And yet, through patience and vigilance, it was seen. As the days passed, astronomers recalculated its trajectory again and again. Each refinement confirmed the same truth. Atlas was not bound to the sun. It had entered from afar, and it would leave again. Its stay would be brief, a few months at most, before it slipped back into the interstellar dark, gone perhaps forever. And so a race began, not a frantic race, but a quiet, determined one. Every telescope that could be spared turned toward the traveler. The Very Large Telescope in Chile, the Keck Observatory in Hawaii, even the James Webb Space Telescope orbiting far beyond Earth's atmosphere. Each sought to capture every possible photon, to measure every line of spectrum, to learn as much as possible before the visitor vanished. Pause here for a moment. Imagine yourself as one of those scientists. Night after night, you wait watching the screens. A faint dot slides slowly across the sky, and yet you know it is not just a dot. It is a story millions of years old, a fragment from another system, carrying secrets you may never fully unlock. How would that feel? Ah yes, humility certainly, perhaps also a sense of fragility, knowing that such moments are rare, fleeting, and precious. By late July, the data had grown clearer. The traveler brightened as it approached the sun. Its coma, the faint cloud of gas and dust that surrounded it, began to swell. Spectrographs teased out its chemistry, and already anomalies were whispering their presence. But those whispers belonged to the next chapter. For now, the discovery story was enough. From a faint shimmer in the night, from a curve in the data, from the patient vigilance of watchers in the dark, 3I Atlas had entered our awareness. It had moved from silence into story. It had become not just an object, but a mystery. The days after the first detection were filled with quiet excitement. Around the world, Observatories adjusted their schedules, carving out precious time to follow the faint new. In Hawaii, beneath skies washed clean by Pacific winds, astronomers confirmed the same strange motion. In Spain, at the Canary Islands, researchers stood on volcanic rock and watched as their instruments traced the identical curve. In Arizona, in the dry desert air, other telescopes joined, each one adding another voice of confirmation. It felt in those first weeks like the whole planet was leaning closer to the sky. From one continent to another, from one hemisphere to the other, all eyes turned toward the same mysterious traveler. The scientists spoke with caution, as they always do. Their words were measured, restrained, filled with phrases like peculiar motion and worthy of study. Yet in their voices, between the lines of their reports, there was something more. A tremor of awe, of realization that they were witnessing something rare, something fragile, something history might remember. Think of the parallel moments in astronomy. When Galileo raised his telescope in the 17th century and saw moons circling Jupiter, his notes were cautious, yet his heart must have raced. When William Herschel discovered Uranus in 1781, he described it as a curious star. Yet surely he knew he had changed our understanding of the cosmos. When Edwin Hubble in the 1920s proved that the Andromeda Nebula was not a cloud within our galaxy but a galaxy of its own, he wrote in careful scientific prose, yet the revelation was staggering. The universe was far larger than we had dreamed. 3i Atlas joined that lineage, a quiet discovery, born not of spectacle but of patience. A faint dot, revealed by algorithms, confirmed by telescopes, and suddenly the sky was larger, stranger, more alive than before. As July passed into August, more details trickled in. Each night added another line to the story. The object brightened as expected, but its behavior was not entirely normal. Its coma thickened, its spectrum spoke in unusual tones, and already whispers of anomaly began to circulate. But the sense of discovery itself remained the center. In observatories, the mood was subdued but electric. Imagine being there. The low hum of computers, the quiet shuffle of papers, the glow of monitors in a darkened room. A group of tired but attentive scientists, their eyes fixed on data, their voices low, their expressions intent. They know they are seeing something rare, something that will not return. They will study it for months, perhaps only weeks, and then it will be gone, forever beyond reach. Have you ever had a moment like that? When you realized, even as it happened, that it was fleeting, that it would not come again. That is how it felt to witness Atlas. A moment to be savored, even as it slipped through their fingers. By mid-August, international agencies released careful statements. NASA spoke of a third confirmed interstellar object. The European Space Agency echoed with similar restraint. They emphasized safety. No collision, no danger, no cause for alarm. But beneath that calm exterior lay urgency. Why else would the James Webb Space Telescope, whose observing hours are more precious than gold, devote time to this faint visitor? Why else would observatories around the world rearrange their schedules to track a single speck of light? The answer was clear. 3i Atlas was not ordinary. It was extraordinary. And so, night after night, the telescopes continued their vigil. Data flowed in spectra, images, brightness curves. Each detail added depth to the mystery. Each observation, while precise, carried the same undertone. This is not like what we know. This is something new. Pause here, listener. Imagine standing under that same sky. The stars above you seem eternal, unchanging. And yet, hidden among them, is a visitor passing through, one that will never return. It has traveled for millions of years, unseen, unnoticed, until now. And you, in this moment, are alive to know it. What does that stir in you? Wonder? Humility? A quiet joy at being part of a story larger than yourself? Perhaps all of these at once. This is the story of discovery. A story of patience rewarded, of vigilance fulfilled, of science meeting mystery. And though anomalies would soon complicate the tale, though contradictions would emerge, the beginning remains simple and pure. A faint shimmer, a path from afar, a recognition that we are not alone in the cosmos, at least not in the flow of its objects. In the weeks that followed the first detection, the story of Atlas spread like a soft murmur through the halls of science. At conferences, during coffee breaks, in late-night calls across time zones, astronomers spoke of it in cautious tones. They showed one another graphs, images, and spectral lines, pointing gently to the details that seemed not to fit. And always, there was that sense of wonder beneath their restraint. We are watching something from another star. One by one, observatories confirmed the finding. A telescope in Spain captured it just above the horizon, a streak so faint it might have been overlooked. In Hawaii, under skies washed clean by rain, it was seen again, its motion unmistakable. In Arizona, in the dry desert air, the same signature appeared. Each confirmation was another thread in a web of certainty, weaving the faint shimmer into a recognized presence. Imagine how it must have felt to be part of that global watch. To know that, on the other side of the planet, colleagues were staring at the same faint dot, measuring its path, confirming its speed. Thousands of miles apart, yet connected by the same discovery, like people scattered across continents, all hearing the same note of music carried on the wind. And in that connection, there was also a sense of fragility. The object was moving fast. Time with us would be short. Every night mattered. Every observation was a gift. Have you ever watched the setting sun and known that its beauty would last only minutes more, and then be gone? That is how the scientists felt with Atlas. Precious, fleeting, already slipping away even as they studied it. To describe the discovery as extraordinary is not enough. For astronomers, it was a reminder that the universe is still capable of surprise. They had built their telescopes for vigilance, for routine defense against asteroids. And yet, instead of danger, those instruments revealed wonder. A messenger from the deep, caught not by accident but by persistence, by patience, by the steady gaze of watchers who refused to stop looking. Think of how often in life we discover something unexpected not by seeking it, but by preparing ourselves to notice. A seashell picked up on a walk. A bird glimpsed at the edge of the forest. A familiar path revealing an unfamiliar detail. Atlas was like that, ordinary at first glance, extraordinary once understood. By late summer, the story had reached the public. Headlines spoke of a third interstellar visitor. Articles explained its hyperbolic path, its origin beyond the solar system. Readers around the world looked up at the night sky and wondered, where is it now? Can I see it? What does it mean? Even those who could not find it with their eyes felt its presence in the story, felt the tug of awe that comes with knowing we are not isolated, not cut off, but part of a galaxy alive with wanderers. And through it all, the telescopes continued their quiet vigil. Night after night, they traced its path, gathered its light, stored its data. Each photon captured was a relic of a journey across the stars, a message carried for millions of years, arriving only now, in our time, for our eyes. Pause here and breathe. Imagine standing beneath the stars, knowing that among them, too faint for your eyes but visible to the patient machines of science, there moves a traveler from afar. It is not here to stay. It will not return. And yet, for this brief moment, it shares the sky with you. Does that not make the night feel richer, more alive, more mysterious? This is the heart of the discovery story. Not noise, not error, not accident, but recognition. A shimmer noticed, a pattern confirmed, a truth revealed. That we live in a universe not only of stars and planets, but of wanderers, messengers that pass through, carrying secrets we may never fully unlock, but which still remind us of the wonder beyond. As the weeks unfolded, the sense of urgency grew. Three-Eye Atlas was brightening as it drew closer to the sun, But every astronomer knew the truth. The window would close quickly. By October, it would slip into solar conjunction, hidden by the glare, invisible to our instruments. By winter, it would fade, receding into the dark, never to return. Every observation counted. Every clear night was a gift. This fleeting nature gave the discovery a special weight. Scientists often spend years studying the same objects, planets, galaxies, stars that endure across lifetimes. But here was something different, something that would pass by like a shooting star, glimpsed only once in all of history. It was as though a guest had stepped briefly into our home, offered a glance, and then walked away forever. In research centers across the world, proposals were hurriedly written, telescope time fiercely requested. Observing schedules shifted, projects postponed. The traveler took priority, its passage demanding attention. Teams collaborated across borders, sharing data, comparing measurements, working not in competition but in quiet unity. For all of them knew, when it was gone, no second chance would come. The first preprints appeared online, cautious papers filled with measurements and equations, describing the hyperbolic trajectory, the velocity, the growing coma. Their language was restrained, but between the lines, a sense of wonder shone through. Words like unprecedented and extraordinary slipped into the prose. For scientists trained to temper emotion, even those small admissions were telling. Imagine yourself as one of those researchers, standing in the glow of a monitor at 3 in the morning. You refresh the data feed, and there it is again. The faint dot, the traveler, moving exactly as predicted, proving again that it is real. Outside, the night is quiet. The stars look unchanged. Yet you know that one of them hides a visitor not from here, not bound to our sun, carrying the history of another system. How would that make you feel? It is a humbling thing to realize how small we are. And yet, in that smallness, there is connection. To witness Atlas is to join a long chain of watchers. Those who once charted the planets with naked eyes, those who once mapped the comets with ink and parchment, those who built the telescopes that now gather faint light from across the universe. You are part of that lineage, part of the story of human curiosity. The media picked up the story in late August. Headlines spoke of a third interstellar comet, a mysterious visitor, a cosmic messenger. For a few days, the public turned their gaze skyward, imagining the traveler. Most would never see it, of course. It was too faint for ordinary eyes, but they could feel its presence in the story itself. A reminder that the universe is alive, that beyond the routine of days, there are still wonders that pass briefly through our reach. And still, in the observatories, the vigil continued. Night after night, astronomers leaned into their work, capturing photons, calibrating instruments, refining measurements. Each number added to the growing portrait of Atlas. Each observation deepened the mystery. The more they saw, the less it resembled the comets they knew. And though the anomalies belonged to the next chapter of the story, even in the discovery phase, whispers of strangeness were already present. Have you ever had such an experience in your own life? When you encountered something unexpected? A bird far from its usual range, a flower blooming out of season, a stranger crossing your path, and in that moment you knew, this will not last, I must remember it. That is what it felt like to witness Atlas. An encounter fleeting, yet unforgettable. The background and discovery of Atlas is, at its heart, a story of patience rewarded, of instruments built for defense uncovering wonder, of a faint shimmer on a screen transforming into a symbol of the universe's vastness. It reminds us that we do not always find what we expect, but sometimes what we find is far more precious. Pause here with me. Imagine the night sky once more. Above you, endless stars. Among them, faint and fleeting, Atlas moves. You cannot see it with your eyes, but you can feel it in your imagination. It is here now for a moment and then it will be gone. That is the story of its discovery. That is the gift of its passing. Anomalies and mysteries. The discovery of 3I Atlas was only the beginning. As scientists studied it more closely, they realized that this was not just a comet from another star. It was a puzzle, a collection of contradictions, a chorus of anomalies that refused to be silenced. The nickel without iron. The first whispers of strangeness came from its chemistry. Spectrographs revealed clear signatures of nickel, a heavy element forged in the depths of stars. But strangely, there was no iron alongside it. Nickel and iron are siblings, born together in stellar furnaces, found together in comets and asteroids across our system. To see one without the other was unsettling, like finding a footprint with only one shoe. At first, astronomers suspected error. Instruments were checked, calibrations repeated, independent teams brought in to confirm. Yet again and again the data held steady. Nickel, yes, but no iron. In our laboratories, such separation occurs only with deliberate refining, with industrial processing. Could this be natural? Perhaps. But the question lingered, echoing through the community. Have you ever noticed something in your own life that felt out of place? A detail that did not belong, and yet you could not dismiss it? That is what the nickel anomaly felt like. Small, quiet, but impossible to ignore. The carbon dioxide dominance. Next came another surprise. Comets, when warmed by the sun, usually breathe water vapor. Their comas shimmer with ice turned to steam, their tails shining with the essence of life itself. But Atlas was different. This coma was dominated not by water, but by carbon dioxide nearly 8 times more abundant. It was as if, instead of a snowball melting in the sun, we were watching a block of dry ice, releasing cold fog into the night. Possible, yes, but profoundly unusual. It suggested that Atlas had formed in a nursery unlike our own, in conditions alien to the comets we know. It was not merely a traveler from another star. It was a traveler from another kind of world. The James Webb Space Telescope confirmed it. Carbon dioxide wrapped the object like a shroud, thick and persistent, concealing the nucleus from view. The more the sun warmed it, the denser the veil became. It was as if the traveler wore a mask, hiding its true face at the very moment we most wish to see. What do you imagine lies behind such a veil? A lump of ice, ordinary and fragile? Or something stronger, stranger, waiting unseen? The hidden nucleus. Even with our most powerful instruments, the nucleus of Atlas remained invisible. Hubble tried, Webb tried, ground-based observatories tried, but none could pierce the carbon dioxide fog. Scientists could only place limits on its size, never capture its shape. Imagine watching smoke rise from a fire you cannot see. You know something is burning, but the flame itself remains hidden. That is how Atlas appeared. A presence defined not by what it revealed, but by what it concealed. Some speculated the nucleus was small, fragile, perhaps already fragmenting. Others suggested it was large but unusually reflective. No answer satisfied all the data. The heart of Atlas remained a mystery, beating quietly behind its veil. The improbable trajectory. Perhaps the most unsettling anomaly was not chemical but orbital. Atlas did not wander aimlessly. Its path threaded near Venus, brushed the orbit of Mars, passed within reach of Jupiter's gravity. For a random object from the stars, the odds of such alignments were vanishingly small, 1 in tens of thousands, some calculated. It was as though a dart, thrown across light-years of distance, had landed precisely on a narrow target. Coincidence, perhaps, but coincidence at such scale makes the mind uneasy. Could unseen forces have shaped its path? Or was there intention behind the curve? Pause here and consider. If you saw a leaf fall and land exactly in your open hand, would you dismiss it as chance? Or would you feel, for a moment, that the universe was speaking directly to you? That was the feeling Atlas inspired. The brightness that would not behave. Finally, there was the matter of light. Comets are expected to brighten steadily as they near the sun, then fade as they depart. But Atlas refused to follow the script. Sometimes it flared too quickly, sometimes it dimmed without reason. Its surface seemed unusually reflective, its behavior inconsistent with every model. Amateurs noticed, professionals puzzled. The brightness became a riddle, refusing every explanation. Some said it was fragmenting. Others suggested exotic ices. A few dared to wonder whether the flicker was not random at all, but rhythm, a pattern not yet decoded. Imagine watching a candle flame dance. At times it bends with the wind, at times it flares as though touched by unseen breath. That was Atlas, light that moved unpredictably, hinting at secrets we could not grasp. These were the mysteries of Atlas. Nickel without iron, carbon dioxide without water, a hidden heart, an improbable path, a brightness that would not behave. Alone, each anomaly might be dismissed. Together, they sang in chorus, a song of strangeness that deepened with every note. And so, I ask you, if you were faced with such contradictions, what story would you tell yourself? Would you cling to the safety of chance? Or would you let your imagination wander, wondering whether something more deliberate might be at work? When the first reports of nickel without iron were released, the reaction within the scientific community was cautious, almost hesitant. Peer reviewers pressed the teams for more data, more confirmation, more certainty. In astronomy, as in life, extraordinary claims demand extraordinary care. Yet, with each independent observation, the anomaly refused to vanish. The spectral lines were clear, the absence undeniable. Some whispered that perhaps we had stumbled upon chemistry forged under conditions unfamiliar to us, conditions beyond our solar nursery. Others, more quietly, admitted that the data carried the flavor of refinement, of something touched by process rather than accident. The carbon dioxide dominance deepened the unease. A few recalled comets in our own system that carried unusual chemistry, but none so stark, none so inverted. It was like entering a kitchen and finding bread baked without flour, only sugar and salt. Possible, perhaps, but strange enough to make you question the recipe. Astronomers compared notes, pulled up models, ran simulations. Still, the imbalance stood firm. Even the nucleus, or rather, the refusal of the nucleus to reveal itself, added to the sense of something uncanny. For decades, the Hubble Space Telescope had pierced the shrouds of distant galaxies, had revealed the faintest structures at the edge of the visible universe. And yet, here, with an object inside our own system, even Hubble could not see through the veil. It was like trying to glimpse the face of a person who always turns away, showing you only their shadow. The trajectory, too, invited comparisons. Historians of science pointed out that Halley's Comet, for centuries, inspired awe because of its predictable returns. People could calculate its path, anticipate its reappearance. Atlas was the opposite. Unpredictable in arrival, destined never to return, and yet somehow threading itself improbably close to planets along the way. One calculation placed the odds of its exact path at less than 1 in 20,000. Some dismissed this as coincidence, others as a statistical quirk, but a few leaned back in their chairs and wondered, what if chance is not the whole story? Brightness, the last of the anomalies, carried its own haunting beauty. Amateur astronomers, watching through backyard telescopes, sent notes to professional colleagues. They spoke of sudden flares, of brightness curves that bent unexpectedly. The professionals confirmed, but cautiously, reluctant to speculate. Still, in private, many admitted that Atlas seemed almost playful, as though it were teasing, revealing just enough to keep us watching, never enough to satisfy. Pause here and imagine. If you were one of those astronomers, staring at the graphs late at night, what story would you tell yourself? Would you believe you were watching nature at her most inventive? Or would you wonder, quietly, if there was something more? The mysteries of Atlas echo those of earlier anomalies in science. When Uranus moved off course, it hinted at Neptune before we knew it was there. When Mercury's orbit puzzled astronomers, it whispered of relativity before Einstein spoke it aloud. Each anomaly is a seed of revelation. Perhaps Atlas, too, is such a seed, its strangeness pointing toward truths not yet named. And yet, as always, the official voice remained calm. Reports spoke of unusual characteristics and unexpected behavior, but never of wonder, never of intention. To the public, reassurance was offered. No threat, no danger, no cause for alarm. But for those listening closely, for those watching carefully, the anomalies spoke louder than the words. As more data poured in, the contradictions refused to fade. The journals filled with careful language, yet in the hallways after presentations, in whispered conversations over coffee, the tone was different. Scientists are cautious by training, but they are also human, and their eyes betrayed what their words did not. Fascination, unease, a sense that something about Atlas was not fitting neatly into any box they knew. One astronomer described it this way: "It is like hearing a familiar song played with notes slightly out of place. You recognize the melody, but something in it unsettles you, as though the music itself is trying to say more than you understand." That is what the anomalies felt like. Each detail was close to normal and yet not quite. Consider the nickel without iron once more. In laboratories, samples are melted, refined, separated into purer forms. To find such separation in nature seemed improbable. To some, it suggested regions of star formation unlike our own, with conditions we had not yet imagined. To others, it whispered of process, of something shaped rather than accidental. The debate never settled, but the question remained, like a pebble in the shoe of certainty. The carbon dioxide veil drew further attention. Some compared it to the fog of Titan, Saturn's great moon, whose thick atmosphere hides its surface from our eyes. Titan at least reveals its outline. Atlas gave us nothing, only a shroud, refusing to part. The closer it came to the sun, the thicker the veil grew, as if determined to conceal the very core we longed to glimpse. Have you ever watched mist rise over a lake at dawn? You know the water lies beneath, yet the fog obscures it, softens it, makes it unreachable. That is how Atlas appeared, a presence we could sense but never see. The trajectory anomaly sparked debates late into the night. Some argued fiercely that chance could explain it, that improbable does not mean impossible. Others leaned back in their chairs, staring at the sky beyond their windows, and wondered if chance was enough. To pass so close to multiple planets was like throwing a stone across a vast canyon and having it land precisely at the feet of a waiting traveler. A marvel of luck? Or something more? The brightness, flickering, irregular, added a final layer of strangeness. Amateur astronomers, excited by the anomalies, shared their images online, their voices filled with wonder. Professionals cross-checked, recalculated, recalibrated. Still the light refused to behave. It was steady, then erratic, bright, then dim, as though following a rhythm that eluded us. A candle flame in the wind, or perhaps a signal, a pulse, a whisper too faint to decipher. Pause here and breathe with me. Imagine yourself outside on a quiet night, watching the stars. One of them flickers strangely, just for a moment. Would you dismiss it as a trick of your eyes, or would you wonder if it was a message, meant for anyone willing to notice? For all their caution, the scientists could not hide their excitement. Anomalies have always been the seeds of discovery. Neptune was found because Uranus misbehaved. Relativity was born because Mercury's orbit refused to conform. Each mystery was once an anomaly, once a contradiction waiting for a new understanding. Perhaps they thought Atlas would play the same role. Perhaps it, too, was a herald of new knowledge, waiting patiently for us to listen. And yet, the veil of uncertainty remained. Too faint, too fast, too fleeting, Atlas gave only questions, never answers. As it moved across the sky, the anomalies multiplied, like ripples spreading outward, each one touching another, until the whole became not just a comet, but a riddle. The scientists returned to their papers, their instruments, their conferences. They spoke in cautious tones, but they felt the same quiet awe as the rest of us. That here, before our eyes, was something that did not fit, something that stretched the boundaries of what we thought we knew. And so, the anomalies of 3I Atlas, nickel without iron, carbon dioxide without water, a hidden heart, a path improbably precise, a brightness that refused to behave, became more than data. They became a story, a mystery unfolding night after night, leading us not toward answers, but toward deeper wonder. Comparisons with past cases. When 3I Atlas was confirmed as the third interstellar object ever seen, astronomers immediately looked backward, to the two that had come before. It was not enough to study Atlas in isolation. To understand it, they needed to place it within a lineage, a family of wanderers from beyond. And so the story turned to comparison. Oumuamua, the first messenger. The first interstellar visitor arrived in the autumn of 2017. It was discovered by the Pan-STARRS telescope in Hawaii, a survey meant to watch for near-Earth asteroids. Its name was Oumuamua, a Hawaiian word meaning scout or messenger from afar arriving first. The name carried a weight of prophecy, for indeed it was the first, an announcement that the universe was sending us more than comets of our own making. Oumuamua was unlike anything seen before. It was small, no more than a few hundred meters across, yet its shape was extreme. Some saw it as elongated, cigar-like. Others argued it was flat, pancake-like. Its brightness shifted dramatically as it tumbled, a clue to its strange proportions. But the greater puzzle came later. As it receded from the sun, it accelerated ever so slightly, moving faster than gravity alone allowed. Normally, comets accelerate because of jets of vapor, but Oumuamua displayed no coma, no tail, no visible outgassing. It moved as though nudged by an invisible hand. Explanations were proposed: hydrogen ice, nitrogen ice, exotic ices that sublimate invisibly. Each solved part of the mystery, none solved it all. And so Oumuamua left the stage as it had entered. Enigmatic, unclassified, a messenger whose message remained unread. Have you ever received a letter you could not decipher, written in a script half familiar, half strange? That was Oumuamua, a text from the cosmos that we could see, but not translate. 2I/Borisov, the familiar stranger. 2 years later, in August of 2019, another visitor appeared. This one was found not by a massive observatory, but by an amateur astronomer, Gennady Borisov, in Crimea. It was named 2I/Borisov, the second interstellar. Unlike Oumuamua, Borisov looked immediately familiar. It had a bright coma, a long tail, jets of gas and dust streaming behind it. Its chemistry was strange in detail, more carbon monoxide than expected, but in spirit it was cometary, unmistakably so. Borisov reassured scientists. Yes, interstellar objects exist. Yes, they can resemble the icy wanderers we know. It was alien in origin, but ordinary in nature. It was as if the universe, after startling us with Oumuamua's strangeness, offered Borisov as a reminder. Not all that comes from afar is inexplicable. Some visitors speak a language we already understand. Think of meeting two strangers. The first is eccentric, their words and gestures unfamiliar. The second is gentle, recognizable, easy to read. Together, they remind you that the world beyond your home is not uniform, but varied. So it is with Oumuamua and Borisov. Atlas, the third voice, and then came Atlas in 2025. From the beginning, it seemed to echo both predecessors, yet add puzzles of its own. Like Borisov, it carried a coma, a shroud of gas that revealed activity. Yet, unlike Borisov, its chemistry was profoundly strange. Carbon dioxide dominant, water scarce, nickel without iron. Like Oumuamua, it carried contradictions, refusing to behave as expected. And yet, unlike Oumuamua, its anomalies were not silent, but loud, layered, insistent. Placed side by side, the three form a progression. Oumuamua startled us with strangeness. Borisov reassured us with familiarity. Atlas unsettled us again, showing us that the universe is stranger and more diverse than we imagined. Pause here. Imagine these three visitors as characters in a story. The first is the mysterious messenger, cloaked in riddles, who passes swiftly by, leaving more questions than answers. The second is the ordinary traveler, whose ways are familiar, whose presence is comforting. The third is the enigmatic figure who combines both, familiar in outline, strange in detail, unsettling because it cannot be neatly placed in either category. Together, they form the opening chapter of a saga we are only beginning to read. A new era of astronomy. For centuries, humanity wondered if objects from other stars might pass through our skies. It was theory, nothing more. In less than a decade, we saw three. Why now? Perhaps it is only that our eyes have grown sharper, our instruments more sensitive. Or perhaps, some whisper, the universe has always been alive with such wanderers, and now, at this moment in history, we are finally ready to notice. Comparisons reveal not clarity, but complexity. Oumuamua, Borisov, Atlas, three names that remind us of the diversity of the galaxy. No single model can contain them all. No simple theory can explain them. They are fragments of other worlds, each carrying a different story, each reminding us that the universe is not uniform, but endlessly varied. The arrival of Oumuamua in 2017 was not just a scientific event. It was cultural. For weeks, it filled newspapers and television broadcasts. Artists painted it, writers wrote about it, philosophers debated it. Its very name, messenger, seemed to awaken something deep in us, a reminder of our old myths, our stories of signs and omens from the sky. Some felt excitement, others unease. It was as though the cosmos had leaned down to whisper a riddle into our ears. Borisov, by contrast, did not inspire the same fever. Its discovery in 2019 was met with admiration, yes, but also calm. It was a comet, after all, alien in origin but familiar in form. To see its bright coma and long tail was to breathe easier. The first messenger had unsettled us. The second reassured us. In Borisov, we found continuity, a reminder that even the vastness of interstellar space can produce things we recognize. And then came Atlas, and the balance shifted again. From the start, its contradictions stirred curiosity. It resembled Borisov, yet it refused to conform. It echoed Oumuamua, yet in louder, stranger tones. Scientists compared it side by side with its predecessors, and the pattern grew clear. There was no pattern. Each visitor was different. Each challenged assumptions in its own way. Imagine them as three travelers arriving at your door. The first is mysterious, cloaked, speaking in riddles before vanishing into the night. The second is warm, familiar, carrying stories you understand. The third is both at once, familiar in shape, strange in substance, unsettling because it cannot be placed. What do you make of them, these visitors arriving one after another? Coincidence, perhaps, or perhaps the beginning of a larger story. The public felt this as well. With Atlas, articles again spoke of anomalies, of puzzles, of whispers of the extraordinary. People looked upward once more, reminded that the universe is not static but alive, sending us visitors whose meanings we have yet to grasp. Some felt awe, some felt fear, but all felt something. An emotional stirring that only the unknown can bring. Comparisons also teach us about time. For centuries, such visitors passed unnoticed. Only in the last decade have we begun to see them. 3 in less than 10 years, after millennia of silence. Why now? Perhaps it is simply technology, our telescopes sharper, our surveys more vigilant. Or perhaps there is another meaning. Perhaps the universe has always been filled with wanderers, and we, at this moment in our history, are finally prepared to notice. Pause here and consider, what does it mean to live in the era when these visitors have begun to appear? To be among the first humans to know, Not in theory but in fact, that fragments from other suns drift through our skies? It is a humbling thought and a thrilling one. Oumuamua left us unsettled. Borisov comforted us. Atlas unsettled us again, with greater force. What comes next? Will the fourth visitor reassure us once more, or deepen the mystery? Will the pattern continue, alternating between familiar and strange? Or will the next reveal something beyond both categories? Together, the three form a prologue, the opening chapter of a story not yet written. A trilogy of messengers, each carrying a different tone, a different mood, a different challenge. We do not yet know what the full melody will sound like, but we have heard the first notes. And so, comparisons leave us not with answers, but with anticipation. They invite us to wonder not only about the objects themselves, but about what they signify. Are they random debris, wandering by chance? Or are they, as some dare to ask, messages of a different kind? Speculative theories. With the anomalies of Atlas piling up, the nickel without iron, the veil of carbon dioxide, the hidden nucleus, the improbable path, the brightness that flickered unpredictably, scientists did what humans have always done when confronted with mystery. They speculated. Carefully in their papers, boldly in their conversations, quietly in their thoughts as they looked up at the night sky. The natural explanations. The first and most cautious theory is that Atlas is natural, entirely natural, though unusual. The cosmos is a vast workshop, filled with pressures and temperatures we have not yet imagined. Perhaps in the nursery of another star, metals separated in ways they do not hear, leaving nickel pure, unaccompanied by iron. Perhaps in the outer reaches of a distant system, carbon dioxide formed in abundance, while water ice remained scarce. Perhaps the improbable trajectory was nothing more than the inevitable result of countless gravitational encounters across eons of drifting. Nature, after all, is inventive. Once, lightning was thought to be divine fire. Once, the orbits of planets were puzzles without solution. Time and science turned mystery into knowledge. Perhaps Atlas is simply another chapter in that long tradition. Have you ever seen a cloud shaped like a face, or an animal so detailed it seemed deliberate? And yet you knew, in truth, it was only vapor and wind. Perhaps Atlas is like that, strange in appearance, yet entirely natural in origin. The probe hypothesis. But some are not satisfied with natural explanations. They look at the anomalies not as quirks, but as clues. Nickel refined, carbon dioxide as camouflage, a nucleus that refuses to be seen, a path too precise, a brightness that flickers like signal. Each detail may be explained away individually, but together they begin to suggest design. What if Atlas is not a comet at all, but a probe, a craft, a relic left behind by intelligence older than our own? Oumuamua stirred this same question, when Avi Loeb suggested it might be a light sail drifting on starlight. Many dismissed the idea. Many still do. But for others, the possibility lingers. Imagine for a moment that this is true. Somewhere, long ago, beings we cannot imagine fashioned Atlas and sent it on its way. Perhaps it has wandered for millennia, visiting system after system, gathering whispers of data. Perhaps, as it passed us, it listened to the faint hum of our radio signals, the quiet pulse of our presence. How would you feel knowing that we might be observed, that our world might have been noted in the logbook of another civilization? Would you feel fear? Or would you feel wonder, that we are not alone, that the silence of the stars hides presence, not emptiness? The dark forest hypothesis. And then, deeper still, there is the most haunting speculation. The dark forest. It asks a chilling question. If the galaxy is alive with civilizations, why do we not hear them? The answer, some say, is fear. In a forest filled with hunters, the wise remain silent. To reveal yourself is to invite danger. If this is true, then objects like Atlas may not be random. They may be scouts, moving quietly, designed not to reveal themselves but to observe. The veil of carbon dioxide, the refusal to show a nucleus, the improbable path threading near planets. Each could be a choice, a way of watching without being seen. Have you ever walked through a forest at night, careful with every step, speaking no word, knowing that silence is safety? That is the vision of the dark forest. A galaxy filled with life, but life that hides, that watches, that waits. This idea unsettles, and yet it also carries a strange beauty. Silence is not absence. It is presence unspoken. The forest is alive, even if it does not sing. The galaxy may be the same, alive with voices, but voices that whisper too softly for us to hear. These theories, natural oddity, crafted probe, cautious scout, are not answers but invitations. They remind us that we do not yet know, that wonder is not diminished by uncertainty, but deepened, that sometimes the act of asking is as important as the act of answering. So let us hold the possibilities gently. Let us allow the mystery of Atlas to remain open, like a dream that refuses to resolve. For in the quiet of night, in the stillness of sleep, it is not certainty that soothes us, but wonder. When Oumuamua passed through, it ignited imaginations. In classrooms, students asked teachers if it could be a spaceship. In cafes, people debated whether we had just glimpsed evidence of another intelligence. Newspapers ran headlines about a cosmic visitor. Television anchors used words like mystery and enigma. It was more than science, it was a story, and the world loves stories. Borisov, just 2 years later, brought a different kind of story. It was discovered not by a large institution but by a single man, peering through a homemade telescope in Crimea. That detail alone enchanted many. It reminded the world that discovery is not only for the powerful, but also for the patient and the passionate. Borisov, with its bright tail and familiar behavior, became a symbol of continuity. The galaxy may send us strangers, but not all are beyond recognition. And then Atlas arrived, and once again the mood shifted. Its discovery was quieter at first, but as its anomalies emerged, so did the whispers. Online forums filled with speculation. Some compared it to Oumuamua, others argued it was more perplexing still. Articles described it as a riddle, a traveler that played by rules we did not yet understand. The public's curiosity was stirred again, and with it came the same mix of awe and unease. Think of these three as chapters in a book. The first chapter, Oumuamua, begins with shock and mystery, a sudden twist that makes you sit up and pay attention. The second chapter, Borisov, offers reassurance, grounding the story in something you recognize. The third chapter, Atlas, brings the contradictions back, leaving you unsure where the story will go next. Together, they do not form a conclusion. They form a beginning, or think of them as music. The first note, sharp and strange, dissonant, makes you tilt your head in wonder. The second note is gentle, familiar, a chord you recognize. The third is layered, unsettling, a mixture of tones that do not resolve. You listen, waiting for the melody to continue, longing to know how it will unfold. That is where we are now, with 3 notes played, the song unfinished, the next still to come. For scientists, the comparisons were sobering. They showed that interstellar visitors are not rare flukes but part of a greater pattern. And yet, the pattern is not uniform. No 2 visitors resembled each other. Each was distinct, surprising, unruly. To catalog them side by side was not to solve the mystery, but to deepen it. And for the public, the comparisons carried another message. They reminded us that we are living in a new era. For all of human history, we wondered if the space between stars held travelers that might one day drift into our skies. Now, in our lifetime, we have seen 3. To be alive at this moment is to stand at the threshold of a new chapter in astronomy, where the unknown no longer belongs only to dreams and myths, but to telescopes and data. Pause here, listener. Imagine you are holding a book, and 3 pages have been turned. Each page contains a different story: Oumuamua, Borisov, Atlas. Each page is incomplete, each one hinting at something larger. You close the book and realize you are still in the introduction. The story has only just begun. And so, the comparisons do not bring closure. They bring anticipation. They tell us that the galaxy is diverse, that its wanderers are strange and many, that we should expect the unexpected. They leave us wondering, what will the fourth visitor be? What story will it carry? And will we, by then, be ready to understand? Speculation is not only about explanation. It is also about meaning. Each theory about Atlas tells us not only something about the cosmos, but also something about ourselves, about the way we search for order, about the way we hope, and about the way we fear. Natural explanations, comfort in the familiar. For some, the natural explanation is comforting. It reminds us that even the strangest things can have ordinary causes, once we understand them. Atlas, in this view, is not a message, not a machine, but simply an unusual comet. Strange, yes, but not beyond nature. There is comfort in this. The same comfort we feel when a frightening shadow in the night turns out to be only a tree branch, or when a puzzling sound is only the wind. To believe Atlas is natural is to believe the universe is still surprising, but not threatening. And perhaps that is enough. To marvel at nature's creativity, to let ourselves be humbled by its diversity, to rest in the knowledge that the cosmos is vast and still full of wonders. The probe hypothesis, longing for connection. For others, the thought of Atlas as a probe awakens something deeper. Longing. A longing not to be alone. A longing for confirmation that intelligence is not confined to one fragile planet around one ordinary star. If Atlas is a probe, then somewhere, sometime, another civilization chose to reach outward, to send a fragment of itself into the dark, to say, in its own silent way, we exist, we endure, we are here. Have you ever written your name in wet sand, knowing the tide would wash it away, but wanting, if only briefly, to leave a mark? Perhaps Atlas is such a mark, left by others across the ocean of stars. And if so, perhaps it is not only watching us, but inviting us to listen more carefully. There is tenderness in this idea, even if it is unprovable. The tenderness of imagining that we are part of a larger family of minds, scattered but real, each one lighting its own small fire against the dark. The dark forest, wisdom in silence. The darkest theory is also the most sobering. That Atlas is not a greeting, not a gift, but a scout. That the silence of the galaxy is not emptiness, but caution. That survival demands stillness. This idea unsettles, but it also carries wisdom. Silence is not always fear, it can also be patience. In the hush of a library, in the pause before a concert begins, in the quiet of a forest at dawn, silence is full, not empty. It is pregnant with meaning. If the galaxy is a dark forest, perhaps Atlas is not a hunter, but a listener, moving quietly so as not to disturb. If so, it reminds us of humility, that we, too, may need to move gently, to listen more than we speak, to respect the silence we find ourselves in. Holding the theories gently. None of these theories can be proven, not yet, perhaps never, but each serves a purpose. The natural explanation grounds us. The probe hypothesis inspires us. The dark forest humbles us. Together, they remind us that speculation is not about certainty. It is about possibility. Have you ever looked at clouds drifting overhead and seen shapes? Animals, faces, landscapes, knowing they are illusions, yet enjoying the visions all the same? Speculation is like that. It gives form to the formless, lets us dream, lets us see ourselves reflected in the sky. And in the quiet of night, as you rest, perhaps it is not the answers that matter most, but the questions. For questions keep us awake to wonder. Questions remind us that the universe is larger than we can hold, deeper than we can measure, more mysterious than we can solve. So let us not rush to resolve Atlas into one theory or another. Let us hold it as mystery, as possibility, as invitation. a traveler from afar, whose meaning we may never fully know, but whose presence has already changed us. Speculation has always been part of science. Long before the laws of gravity were written, thinkers wondered why apples fell. Long before electricity was explained, people spoke of lightning as the anger of gods. To speculate is to dream aloud, to let imagination bridge the gap between what we see and what we understand. With Atlas, speculation blossomed, because what we saw did not quite fit what we knew. Natural explanations, nature's strange creativity. The cautious majority clung to natural causes. They reminded one another that nature often defies expectations. When geysers were first seen on Saturn's moon Enceladus, scientists were astonished. Water jets sprang from beneath an icy crust. When Jupiter's moon Io was found to have volcanoes, it seemed impossible at first. Now we accept both as fact. Why should Atlas not also surprise us? Perhaps nickel without iron is not refinement, but rarity. Perhaps carbon dioxide dominance is not camouflage, but chemistry born in a place unlike our own. The galaxy is vast. Surely it contains environments stranger than any we have seen. Have you ever walked in a garden and found a flower of unexpected color? At first, you wonder if someone painted it, but then you learn it bloomed that way naturally, rare but real. Perhaps Atlas is that flower, a bloom from a distant garden of stars. The probe hypothesis, a quiet machine from afar. Still, some were drawn to a bolder thought. What if Atlas was not natural? What if its anomalies were not chance, but intention? Nickel refined without iron could be evidence of metallurgy, of purpose. Carbon dioxide could serve as a cloak, a veil. The trajectory, improbably brushing close to planets, could be reconnaissance. And the brightness, flickering without pattern, could be more than light, it could be message. The idea of a probe is not new. For decades, thinkers have imagined Bracewell probes, machines sent by advanced civilizations to drift silently between stars, carrying knowledge, perhaps even listening. Oumuamua, too, sparked such whispers. When Avi Loeb suggested it might be a light sail, thin as foil, drifting on starlight. That idea was dismissed by many, but not forgotten. Atlas renewed the question. Imagine it for a moment. Somewhere long ago, perhaps thousands of years before humans learned fire, another civilization launched Atlas. Perhaps it has visited many systems before ours, gathering data, watching, silent. Perhaps as it passed Earth, it turned its unseen face toward us, listening to our faint radio whispers, adding our presence to its memory. Would you fear that thought, or would you marvel at it? That somewhere, somehow, we might already be part of a story written far beyond our world. The dark forest silence as survival. And then, in quieter circles, the darker idea returned. The dark forest. The theory that the universe is alive with civilizations, but silent because silence is survival. In a forest filled with hunters, no one shouts. No one lights a fire. To reveal yourself is to risk being destroyed. In this vision, Atlas becomes not a comet, nor a probe openly declaring itself, but a scout, a careful observer, moving quietly, cloaked, concealed. The carbon dioxide veil is not accident but strategy. The hidden nucleus is not mystery but choice. The improbable trajectory is not luck but pathfinding. It is a chilling thought, to imagine the galaxy not as empty, but as full of watchers, each cautious, each unwilling to announce themselves. Silence not as absence, but as presence unspoken. Have you ever walked through a forest at night, aware of eyes unseen, hearing only the rustle of leaves, knowing you are not alone though no voice calls out? That is the feeling of the dark forest hypothesis. A galaxy alive, but hushed, every civilization holding its breath. Humanity between theories. For most scientists, such thoughts remain speculative, whispers rather than declarations. Papers spoke of unusual properties. Not probes, not scouts. But beyond the walls of academia, imagination ran freer. The public, reading headlines about anomalies, filled forums with questions, art, and stories. Writers compared Atlas to ancient omens. Filmmakers imagined it as messenger. Poets described it as a mirror held up to our longing. And perhaps that is the greatest value of speculation. It does not only explain, it inspires. Natural theories remind us of the universe's creativity. Probe theories remind us of possibility, that intelligence might not be ours alone. Dark forest theories remind us of humility, that survival may depend on silence. Together, they expand our minds, stretching the edges of what we allow ourselves to imagine. So, which do you believe? That Atlas is natural, strange, but ordinary? That it is artificial, crafted by unknown hands? Or that it is a cautious scout, moving silently in a galaxy where silence is law? Perhaps the answer matters less than the act of wondering. For wonder itself is what connects us to the universe, what slows our breathing in the night, what allows us to drift gently into dreams. Human meaning and sleep philosophy. When we step back from the data, from the graphs and spectra and calculations, what remains is the feeling. The feeling of knowing that something from another star has entered our skies. The feeling of standing beneath the night, aware that the universe is not distant but immediate, not silent but filled with motion. What does it mean for us as human beings to witness such a thing? Perhaps it is a reminder of our place, small, fragile, yet connected. Perhaps it is a lesson in humility, that we are not the center of the cosmos, but part of its vast web. Perhaps it is a gift, reminding us that wonder is still alive, even in an age of technology and noise. Have you ever lain awake at night, your mind restless with the day, only to step outside and see the stars? Suddenly, the noise quiets. Suddenly, the troubles shrink. The sky has a way of putting things in perspective. 3i Atlas is like that. A visitor that arrived not to threaten, not to harm, but simply to remind us. The universe is larger than our worries, older than our fears, richer than our imagination. There is a philosophy hidden in such moments, a philosophy of slowness. The object itself moved at breathtaking speed. Yes, but the way we encountered it was slow, patient nights of observation, months of quiet study, careful accumulation of knowledge. In a world that urges us to hurry, Atlas taught us to wait, to watch, to wonder. Perhaps this is why stories like this help us sleep. They draw us out of the small circles of our lives and place us gently into the larger circle of the cosmos. They remind us that our anxieties, though real, are not eternal. They remind us that time stretches beyond us, that silence can be full, that mystery can be comforting. Imagine for a moment that you are drifting in a boat on a still lake at night. The stars reflect on the water. The air is cool. The only sound is your breath, slow and steady. That is what it feels like to rest in the knowledge of interstellar visitors. They pass quietly. They leave no harm. But they remind us that we are part of something vast and serene. The human meaning of Atlas is not only about science. It is about wonder. It is about remembering that curiosity is not just for children, but for all of us at every age. It is about learning to find rest not only in certainty, but also in questions. And so, as you listen now, let your own thoughts soften. Let the questions be like lullabies, rocking you gently towards sleep. You do not need to solve them. You do not need to decide which theory is true. It is enough to wonder. It is enough to dream. 3i Atlas will fade. It will pass beyond our sight, into the darkness between stars. But its meaning remains. It reminds us that the universe is alive with motion. It reminds us that wonder is still possible. It reminds us that even in silence, we are not alone. Closing reflections and farewell. And so, the story of 3i Atlas draws to a close, not the story of the object itself, which continues its silent journey into the dark, but the story of our brief encounter with it. For a few months, it shared our sky. For a brief span of time, it became part of our world. And now, like all travelers, it departs again, leaving us with questions, with wonder, and with a memory that will linger long after its light has faded. Perhaps that is the true gift of such visitors. Not answers, but perspective. Not certainty, but curiosity. They remind us that life is larger than our daily concerns, that time stretches far beyond our calendars, that beauty is not always permanent, but is no less precious for its impermanence. As you rest tonight, let that thought ease your mind. Like Atlas, your thoughts may wander. Let them drift where they will, carried gently by the currents of imagination. There is no need to hold them tightly. There is no need to solve every question. It is enough to float, to breathe, to be. Imagine now the object itself, receding into the darkness. It moves farther from the sun, its coma fading, its glow dimming, until it is once again a faint point, invisible to us. Yet though it leaves our sight, it remains real, a fragment of another world continuing its endless voyage. Perhaps one day it will pass near another star, and another civilization will notice it as we did. Perhaps they, too, will wonder. Perhaps they, too, will dream. And as you breathe slowly, deeply, feel the same stillness within yourself. You, too, are part of this cosmos. You, too, are a traveler carried through space and time. And like Atlas, your journey is precious, fleeting, unique. So let us close here with gratitude. Gratitude for the chance to witness. Gratitude for the mysteries that remain. Gratitude for the quiet of the night, for the stars above, for the rest that waits. Thank you for sharing this journey with me. May your sleep be deep, your dreams gentle, your heart at peace. Until we meet again beneath the same sky, good night.